I think there's a really fundamental problem in AI today that we've seen where there's this massive consolidation of the AI industry. The majority of kind of the models or AI tools people use come from 4 to 5 different companies.
AI is important. It's a new technology which brings intelligence to applications and to machines, but it needs to be connected and it needs to be trusted.
What David's doing with Pairpoint, I think, is like indicative of the direction things are moving with regard to this convergence of kind of blockchain and AI. We have many different sort of long-tail devices and sensors, things like this, tapping into this collective network. It becomes this very fruitful ground for innovation.
You know, we're building a new digital infrastructure for a new digital world. AI is part of it, blockchain is part of it, connected devices are part of it, and essentially we're trying to bring that together. What's at the premium now are visionaries, people who can see a version of the future. I see Nick as one of those people.
What we've done with Allora is build a sort of environment where now, in the shortest and simplest path possible, anyone who has some useful contribution they can bring to the field of AI can put it out into the world, capture value from it, have it contribute to this kind of substrate of intelligence that Allora essentially instantiates.
You've got roughly 20 billion connected devices across the world, anything from connected cars, connected drones, connected cabinets, connected smart meters. The gap is that they're just connected. Bringing IoT devices on-chain where you can essentially make that data available to AI, large language models, small language models, is absolutely critical to this next age of business automation. And it's actually critical to AI being able to provide the returns on investment that have been promised.
What they're doing with Pairpoint and what we're doing with Allora in terms of decentralized intelligence is this like very happy marriage and synergy of two very kind of impactful technologies in society today.
At Vodafone, we provide the connectivity. The AI is coming from a number of sources. Allora are putting that together and bringing some sort of market intelligence to that.
The totality of the world is going to be connected via these various IoT devices. Having it be able to connect to this incredibly expressive and powerful new form of compute that is AI starts to unlock the real intelligence or this real sort of connected brain of society.
Unlocking the data from these connected devices, which are part of business processes, is actually key to unlocking the next frontier of AI.
Jess? Yeah, let's do it.
I think the AI opportunity is going to be huge, simply because of the speed of adoption. You know, we've seen a lot of the generative AI companies, you get 100 million followers in a matter of weeks. And we're starting to see a lot of adoption in the, in the consumer space. Where do you think the next, the next frontier is going to be in this AI growth?
I think we've obviously seen a lot of adoption of AI amongst consumers. I think this next wave of integration of AI is going to be at more of an infrastructure level. I think we've spent the past 10 to 15 years laying critical pieces of infrastructure in IoT, in decentralized networks, a number of different domains. And while AI is sort of like broken out of its shell or its sort of like silo in the consumer sector, I think what AI is it's just a fundamentally more expressive form of compute that exists and meaningfully more expressive. It accelerates the rate of progression of society to on a kind of exponential level. And so I think what we'll start to see is AI start to be tightly integrated and almost redefine many of the sort of core functions that society runs on. We've laid the infrastructure now of being able to connect the world's devices, connect all of these different instances of technology through IoT innovation. And we'll start to see it be upgraded meaningfully with the introduction of kind of machine intelligence being tightly integrated into this kind of infrastructure that's been laid down now.
Yeah, I like that. AI is intelligence.
Yeah.
Right? So AI is intelligence and bringing that intelligence to the fingertips of people, businesses, and as we're discussing today, machines, right? Devices. IoT, which can provide the data that can train the models and can drive inference and decision-making at the edge, will be absolutely critical.
Completely agree. The way I kind of see like how we've progressed to this point to date is we've have a few of these sort of like critical categories of technology that have been progressing more or less in isolation. IoT has been IoT to date. AI has sort of lived in some sort of AI bubble. Decentralized technology has progressed as well, and I think they've all sort of grown sort of separate from each other. And now I think this sort of next era we're entering is each of these individual technologies have reached a level of maturity on their own, such that the next wave of sort of progress for society realized on the back of those kind of three critical pillars of technology that society has access today is going to be in their convergence with one another.
And it's critical infrastructure. So again, coming from a telco background, we're used to managing critical infrastructure. If cell towers and the mobile network goes out, people can't do their jobs, everything stops, right?
Yeah.
You can't even buy things in the supermarket unless you have connectivity. As AI becomes more interwoven in our business processes, it becomes part of critical infrastructure. It becomes essential for our everyday lives. I was here at New York Tech Week back in June, and there was a talk by Bloomberg, and they identified 6 actors, 6 companies that are responsible for over 90% of investment in AI.
Yeah.
And I was thinking at the time, well, if you've got 6 large companies that are responsible for 90% of the investment in AI, it just follows that these 6 companies are expecting to get 90% of the profits and return on investment in AI. And I was just thinking, okay, as we move to this technology that's going to be dominant, how can we create an equal playing field of opportunity?
We've seen this with sort of every great like technological shift throughout history, I think, where there's a progression and then there's a consolidation that happens around like a few large entities. And I think what we now have access to, which I do think is a kind of critical piece of infrastructure in realizing that vision, is kind of decentralized technology that is meaningfully secure. Now, decentralized networks, blockchain technology, et cetera, allows us to create a more level playing field, a more accessible market structure, et cetera, for bringing in the totality of resources, of talent, et cetera, into a domain ahead of it consolidating and potentially leading to a kind of alternative reality that can not be one that's consolidated by an increasingly smaller number of entities. It's not only like a positive movement for AI to be realized via a kind of decentralized or more decentralized form factor. In a lot of ways, it's critical for like a continued positive trajectory for society. Because if we're outsourcing our cognition, our thoughts, our opinions, our perspectives, how intelligence is formed to a small set of essentially 6 actors in the AI industry, we are foregoing our kind of free thought, our free will in a lot of ways.
As we move to the AI economy, I think that IoT, AI technologies, and blockchain will be key ingredients to them. And I think that what's important, as we move there, is to have specific use cases. Some of the ones that we've been looking at that puts these 3 technologies together are, one of them is about the simple thing about how you get data into AI models. And as I've said, I believe that the next frontier of AI data, or the fuel that's going to power the next generation of AI models, will be business data that will come from IoT devices. As the number of devices and machines increase, the ability to get that into AI models is going to be absolutely critical. So the first use case is how do we get data from connected devices into AI models? And how do we make that? How do we secure that data? How do we sign that data? So that you have authenticity and proofability of that. If you look at some specific use cases that we're working on, which may be exciting, one of them is how you can essentially use phone number ID and delegate that to your application, which uses agents that act on your behalf. And I think that that's really important because we already have that infrastructure. So right now, if you go to your exchange and you say, okay, I want to take money out, or you go to your bank and you say, I want to take money out, it will send you a text message. And it knows that phone number is connected with that account, right? It's part of the security mechanism. And what we're doing is essentially extending that to machines and extending that to AI agents. So once you can prove that a machine or an agent is connected with you, then you can use the same security that's already there. The other specific use case of that is for fleets. So essentially, an AI agent that would book EV charging going forward. So if you think about it, you've got fueling, you've got fleets of millions of vehicles across the world. Individual fleets can go up to hundreds of thousands if you take some of the big courier companies. And how do they get fueled, right? AI agents, will be a key part of how you plan the route and how you plan fueling on that route and how you get the best price. And if you're environmentally conscious, how you can have the lowest carbon footprint. And then the other one, which is more at the infrastructure side, is about how you can have decentralized data centers. Some of the connected devices have compute, and we're looking at how you can put that together so that many connected devices can form one big virtual data center.
Just to expand on what you're talking about with regard to like AI for business, things like that, I think that's where decentralization really comes into the mixture here. Because when we also think about these kind of monolithic models today, we don't understand necessarily where the data is coming from. We don't understand sort of what biases is inherent to that data, things like this. As we start to marry the mass amounts of data that we get at the edge via these kind of IoT networks with a more decentralized source of kind of like modeling infrastructure, we can create a more nuanced and comprehensive sort of lexicon of different geographies, different sort of like nuanced or hyper-specific domains of data or intelligence that can better fuel a business's ability to benefit from the power of AI. If all of this data exists at the edge, then there opens up an entirely new design space or a new opportunity set for how people can then start to monetize their data directly, as opposed to just kind of foregoing their data for free or data being acquired through other means to like actually include a more equitable set of society in the sort of like commercial model or the monetization model of AI.
As you said, a lot of the data we have now, is part of a certain geography. It's a part of a certain socioeconomic group. And to be honest, a lot of people don't 100% trust the data, right? When I go and speak at conferences, one of the questions I ask is, how many of you trust the data on the internet? Nobody puts their hand up. I said, well, how are you going to trust the output of AI models, which is based on the data from the internet?
It's going to create this kind of virtuous cycle where IoT infrastructure and data born from that infrastructure is going to create the input for better intelligence, and then the intelligence that is born from that is then going to be fed back into these things, and it's sort of going to be this like recursive, exponentially compounding loop of improvement in these resources.
A lot of the great groundwork that's been done on decentralized digital identity and verifiable credentials and ZK proofs, a lot of this was technology looking for a problem. I think we found the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to be able to authenticate millions, if not trillions, of agents across different platforms, really quickly. And decentralized technology, I think, is made for that, and a lot of the groundwork is there.
I'm getting pretty hungry. You want to finish this up later, go grab something to eat real quick?
So you'd never ask.
Let's do it.
Let's go.